Welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us here today. Welcome to a Wednesday, a beautiful fall day outside. Did you get out in time to see some of that frost on the ground this morning?
Oh, I did not see any frost. I left the house about 7:30. Did not see any frost.
Little nippy, little chilly outside.
It's going to be even chillier tomorrow morning. It's going to be in the 30s when I have door duty in the morning. So
I can dig it.
But I'll tell you what, when I left today, man, when I left school today, it was beautiful. Not a cloud in the sky, about 60-something degrees. Like now we're talking football weather, baby.
Yep, that's right. Michael Cannon jumping into the YouTube chat. Don't forget you can watch the show live on YouTube, either the Irish Breakdown channel or the Sports Radio WSBT channel. Bobby Hensley has his first fan. Who would have known?
Wow.
Who would have thought?
I mean,
Michael says, is Bob going to be on today's show? We like Bob.
Yeah. And then he says, nope. It's Vince. Sorry, man.
You'll hear more of Bobby this week and next week with Jesse gone, though. He will be back tomorrow. Trevor will have the first hour again tomorrow, and then we'll have this free-for-all that's become the second hour when those two are on. We'll find out what happens tomorrow. And then Bobby will be back on Friday as well. And then he'll lather, rinse, repeat, and do it all again next week.
Yes.
Also. So
it's gonna be great.
Yeah. I've heard from Jesse. Have you received texts and even a call from the Canary Islands on their honeymoon. So yeah,
they had the technology to be doing that kind of thing.
Well, they're on our plan. Both of them are on like my wife and I's cell phone, like the family plan. And I don't know what the financials of that, the ramifications for me are on that. I am feeling like, well, she's 30 now. Her birthday was actually yesterday. Celebrated her birthday on the honeymoon. She's 30. He's 29. Now they're married. If they weren't paying us before, I feel like it's time to start funneling some money this way, especially considering the bar tab that I picked up at the rehearsal dinner.
Exactly. So. I think it's time. I think it's time. Jesse gets off the teat, if you will. It's time.
Jonathan making up for it. He says, we love you, Vince, and you too, Sean. Appreciate everybody being here. And speaking of the wedding, I was going to mention this on yesterday's show, and I didn't get a chance. But, my dad was obviously in town from Kansas for the wedding, and he flew in and out of South Bend and drove over to Canton, Ohio, where the wedding was with us. But he got home Monday night, and he said, hey, I was out at when I was at the airport, waiting to go fly from South Bend to Chicago. I don't know exactly how this came up. Somebody must have overheard his last name or something, but someone out there told him that they listened to the show, listen/watch the show all the time. He's not good with names, the memory, going a little bit, but he did remember that the guy said that he listened. So,
hey,
shout out to you. We appreciate you saying that and passing that along. And even if Dad couldn't remember your name, if we had your name, I'd throw you a big shout, but it's appreciated nonetheless.
I probably wouldn't have remembered either. I'm terrible with that kind of thing. So,
that's true, because it didn't, revolve directly to you. So
yeah, exactly. The Cubs just gave up a leadoff double. So,
Oh, that's right.
That game is starting off awesome.
Cubs game just started. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I won't be like Jesse. So it's probably, does he get the Cubs games down in the Canary Islands?
I don't think he does. I think he's going to just have to try to watch, like live stat tracker or whatever. So
bad timing.
Yeah. They're only 5 hours ahead of us. So it's only like 10 o'clock over there. So that's a decent time. And it sounds like they've been staying up half the night and
that's rough.
Partying and doing all the stuff that you do. They went camel riding today, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Got a couple pictures of that. That was it. He said he felt sorry for the camel because he had to carry him. So
that's pretty funny.
Well, this is Mailbag Day, so we're answering listener questions about Notre Dame football and more. You can submit them in the YouTube chat, whether it's the Sports Radio WSBT or the Irish Breakdown YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and jump to some that have already been submitted. from the Champions Lounge, the Irish Breakdown Champions Lounge. And this one comes from Gomer Grizz. What do Carr and the receivers need to do to get back on track with their deep balls after going 1 for 7 against Boise State?
Nothing. Just play the game of football. Like, it's an aberration. It's one game. The deep balls have looked good. His deep balls have been fantastic the first 4 games. There's really nothing he needs to do. He just needs to be himself. You know what I mean? Everybody has an off game. So not something that you're going to pinpoint or you're going to, do something specific to get back on track or anything like that. He just needs to play better, period.
Yeah, it was just one of those days. It was just a little bit of an off day. And look, the deep ball for any quarterback is always going to be the toughest pass to complete. It's just like in basketball. A layup is the easiest because you're literally right there. And then as you work out, get behind the 3-point line, that's where it becomes more difficult. And if you're at the other end of the court, it's a much more difficult shot. And it's no different in football. The short passes are going to be the easiest, and the longer you get downfield, it's just a timing thing. And the timing was a little bit off Saturday, and I don't think it's going to be an issue at all.
I'm not even remotely worried about it.
No, I think it'll, that doesn't mean they're going to go out there and they're going to hit all of them. But I mean, if you hit 3 of 7 or 4 of 7, that's a really good number for for deep balls. Like if you're in that 35 to 40% range, that's a really good number. So you hit a couple more and it looks a lot different. Obviously the score looks different as well because one of them was a potential touchdown pass on 4th and 8. So not worried though, not concerned at all. Joe has a list for us with another weekend of multiple games of potential upsets. Which one would you want to happen to help Notre Dame? So here are the possibilities that he lists out. You've got number 17, Illinois, hosting number 1, Ohio State. Number 14, Missouri, hosting number 8, Alabama. Number 3, Oregon, hosts number 7, Indiana.
That's a lot.
Texas against number 6, Oklahoma. Florida at number 5, Texas A&M. Kansas at number 9, Texas Tech. Number 10, Georgia at Auburn. Number 15, Michigan at USC. South Carolina at number 11, LSU. Number 21, Arizona State at Utah. Number 18, BYU at Arizona. My personal take on this, Vince, is like these games at the top, like Ohio State, Illinois. I don't know about Missouri, Alabama. I think it would probably help Notre Dame if Missouri.
Well, yeah, because that gives
Alabama.
Go ahead.
But I mean, my rationale on this is I think that in terms of helping Notre Dame, because Notre Dame is a 2-loss team right now. So the teams they're going to be fighting with when it comes to selection time, assuming they went out and go 10-2, are going to be other 2-loss and even some 3-loss teams.
Correct.
So I don't think it helps Notre Dame at all if Ohio State gets upset, for example, or
not yet anyway.
Or if Oregon, gets upset. I think it helps Notre Dame more if Oregon hands Indiana its first loss. So I'm looking down at Joe's list here. I am more, kind of in this lower range, like South Carolina at LSU. I think that would be beneficial since LSU already has a loss. Like Georgia, Auburn, if Auburn could pull that off, I think that would be beneficial since Georgia already has a loss. So those are kind of the ones that I'm looking at.
And the Missouri-Alabama one who gave Alabama a loss on a second loss.
Yeah, and that's again, I'm looking at that, but then Missouri is also, how far is Missouri going to go?
Honestly,
if Missouri just took a loss right now, and
either one of those games, one of the losers of that game could very easily fall behind Notre Dame. So that one really doesn't matter. But to your point, I was going to say any one of these that gives somebody their second loss. That's what I want.
Yeah, I mean, and that would obviously be true with Alabama. That helps them out.
Yeah.
But again, okay, if Missouri sitting there, they're just starting to get to the meat of their SEC schedule. So Missouri's at number 14, a few spots ahead of Notre Dame. That's kind of a tough one to me between Alabama and Missouri because Missouri wins, okay, then Alabama's got their second loss, and I think that if Alabama gets its second loss, they're most likely going to get another loss somewhere along the way. But on the other hand, you've got Missouri there give them a loss, and I think that they've got at least another loss or two along the way as well. So I think it's almost a wash. It's hard to pick like who serves Notre Dame better in that particular instance, Alabama and Missouri. I think
it's still early, so you want teams to start racking up some L's. I mean, that's the best thing that can happen,
for sure.
Especially if they're SEC teams, if they start racking up some extra L's, because they're going to start knocking each other off. And you're right, Notre Dame's going to be compared to 3-loss teams, a 3-loss SEC team, a 3-loss Big Ten team. They're going to be compared to those teams, and that's fine. You know, where Notre Dame lost their games at the beginning of the year, you're rooting for Miami and Texas A&M to continue to win. You've got to do that 100%. But other than that, you just want everybody to keep catching L's. That's really all there is to it.
What about this one? Dustin says USC over Michigan. Michigan's
ranked higher than Notre Dame right now. Yeah. So I mean, you want USC to win that game. I will. I saw a picture on Twitter today about teams uniting in their hatred of Michigan. USC, Notre Dame, Ohio State, all like, looking at Michigan and, being on the same side. It's 100% accurate. This is the one time I will be rooting for USC, is to beat Michigan. 100%. That would be fantastic.
Right. Yeah, like John B. says, you want USC to win until they come to South Bend, which is only a week away. Only a little bit more than a week away at this point.
I believe USC received votes in the AP poll. So if they beat Michigan, they'll be ranked, would be my guess, especially if some of these other games work out, in the favor of the Cubs. Or I'm watching the Cubs. In favor of Notre Dame. And so that's what you want. You, like I said, you want these teams to keep catching L's, and you want people on Notre Dame's schedule to keep catching W's to help out your strength of schedule. Because I believe Navy and USC both received votes in the last AP poll. So if they're both ranked when they play, that's not a bad thing.
See, and Joe's got Arizona State at Utah, BYU at Arizona. I mean, I just think that Big 12 is going to be it's so wide open this year, especially with Texas Tech. And now Cincinnati is a little bit of a player. They're just outside the top 25 right now after beating Iowa State last week.
They looked good. I mean, they dominated that game. They kind of allowed Iowa State to come back a little bit, but they dominated that game from start to finish, really.
Mm-hmm. Cocky Irish Innova asks, should Ohio State be the number one team in the AP, or should Miami or Oregon be? Who has the better resume?
Well, right now you've got Ohio State. They haven't lost yet. They were ranked above those other two to begin with. And so until they lose, I don't really have a problem with them being number one. Doesn't really matter. Maybe after Oregon beats IU, but I don't know that I want to give IU that much credit. But it will be the number 7 team in the country if they do end up winning that game. So that's a pretty good W for Oregon at that time. So I'm okay with Ohio State being number one. They haven't shown the weakness that they should drop and somebody else should jump them, in my opinion.
Personally, I continue to be impressed with Miami. They haven't been like this offensive juggernaut, but at the same time, they already have wins over 3 ranked teams. So, like, if we're talking pure resume, Notre Dame, South Florida, and then Florida State last week. And let's not forget, Florida State is the team that waxed, Alabama to open up the season. They also have a win over Florida. So they've beaten 2 big rivals in their state. I do think that just based on what I've seen, I think that they're probably a little bit stronger, but we're arguing a spot or two at that point. Kind of going back to what we were talking about, like with Michigan a second ago, there's I don't think that, like when we're looking at Michigan's potential resume at the end of the season in terms of how games help Notre Dame and that kind of stuff, there's no guarantee that Ohio State's going to beat Michigan this year. Michigan still kind of has their numbers.
True.
So,
but
definitely Michigan to take some L's.
Miami's schedule right now is basically Notre Dame's schedule for the rest of the way. You know what I mean? I mean, they're playing all ACC teams. They got Louisville, Stanford, SMU, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt.
And they don't have either of the big upstart ACC teams. They don't have either Georgia Tech or Virginia on their schedule this year. So, you're right.
They should win every one of these games.
Right.
Every single one.
Right. And honestly, when you look at those are 2 teams that you need to be rooting against right now, are Georgia Tech and Virginia, even though they are like the little darling engines that could and all that kind of stuff. If one of those two teams gets into the ACC championship game against Miami, they're both undefeated, you're going to have two ACC bids for sure this year.
I mean,
again, like that's something Notre Dame is going to be competing against.
100%. And you want the Big 12 and you want the ACC to both be single bid leagues so that there's more at-large spots available. That's what you want. And so you want there to be a very clear-cut Big 12 rep and a very clear-cut ACC rep. And then nonsense below it. Like, that's what you want. And so, you want all those teams to be losing. 100%. Everybody needs to be a big Miami fan at this point, a big-time Miami fan. And they need to be blowing everybody out, throughout the whole rest of the way. And you're right.
Miami fan.
Yeah.
And not a Georgia Tech fan. Yeah. Not a Virginia fan.
Agreed.
That's kind of where you are right now. Irish English. Who would win on a neutral field, 2025 Oklahoma State or 2015 Kansas? Well,
that sounds like a good question for you.
2015 Kansas. This is my guy down the road in Lindsborg, Kansas, just down the road from my hometown in Salina. 2015 Kansas, if I'm not mistaken, was winless, and at least Oklahoma State has a win right now. And I think KU's quarterback that year had more interceptions than touchdown passes, Willis. So
Yikes.
It's not very good on either side, but I think I would.
You're going with the Cowboys, aren't you?
Slight nudge to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
On this one, if I'm playing the college football game on that. He said, would anything football related actually happen during the game? Turnovers. Yes.
They'd be wearing helmets and all the football padding that you're supposed to wear, and that might be about it.
Domer Grizz asks, if you were the running backs coach and it was totally up to you. Oh, I like this question. Okay. You're the running backs coach and it's totally up to you. How would you divvy up the playing time among Love, Price, Williams, James, and Payne? Emphasis on playing time rather than carries to allow for more flexibility in your answer.
I wouldn't do a whole lot different. The difference I would have, it would still be a Love Price domination as far as playing time is concerned. I would have, you can start Love, that's fine, but I would probably go every other series unless one is absolutely a hot hand versus the other one in a game. But I would give them each a couple series to figure that out. But I would probably go every other series, to be perfectly honest with you. The fact that Love dominated the first half of the last game and Price got one carry in the first half, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. You're going to need Jeremiah Love to be very healthy if you're going to make a run in the postseason.
Right.
And I am still on track to think that Notre Dame is going to be playing in the postseason. So you have to be thinking about that. So I would be giving more love.
There are no guarantees that they're going to get there, but that has to be part of your thinking on how you're, because look at what happened. Now, what happened with Love last year was a little bit different because it was an MCL, so again, I still think that that's different than, like a deep thigh bruise or just, like lingering nagging.
It's not an overuse injury.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, you still have to be thinking about that because as of right now, the playoffs are in play and you're going to need both of those guys to make a legit playoff run once again. So I completely agree with that. I think what I would do, like to start a game, I would give Love the first two series to let him get into a little bit of a rhythm before I start taking him out. But then after that, I would seriously consider going to an every other series kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just think Jadarian Price needs more touches, and along with what you're saying, you're helping Jeremiah Love and your team in the long run by managing it that way. Because you're obviously not missing a beat because we went through some of the numbers yesterday. Price with I think it's 48 fewer carries has only about 100 fewer yards, and he's averaging 2 more yards per carry right now. It's like 7.4 to 5.4. Now, Love hasn't really cranked off a couple of the big signature home run type runs or that kind of thing like Jadarian Price has, but I think that's in part due to the style that those guys have. So that's how I would manage them. I still want Jeremiah Love on the field on third down as much as possible, but like with the goal line short yardage stuff that's going on right now, I would give some serious consideration to Jabron Payne because he is obviously all but not being utilized right now. And 2 years ago, when he was healthy, he had that role, even with Audric Estime, a big running back, as the star of the backfield. And Jabron Payne was really good in that short yardage type stuff. So I think that's the biggest thing, like either him or Aeneas Williams. Those are one of those two in that short yardage goal line type role is who I'd potentially be looking at it in terms of someone else who could give Notre Dame something different out of the backfield.
I would go to Jadarian Price on the goal line. That's what I would do, and I would still rotate between the two guys overall. But I would have a quicker hook in the second half when the game is really no longer in doubt. Like, I think they leave the starters in a little bit too long, if I'm being honest, and I think that you can trust Williams and Payne. Like, I would take out Price and Love and put in Williams and Payne and have them rotate series a little bit earlier on than they have been doing. I know that would hurt their overall numbers. Like, I get that. And we're going to talk about that in rapid fire a little bit, but I would use those horses late in games, maybe the entire fourth quarter with the way most of these games are probably going to end up going. I would be using those guys with a little bit more. I would use them a little bit more liberally at that point and let those guys rest to keep the tires fresh. You know what I mean? That's how I would get those other guys involved. When the situation's not in doubt, I want 1A, 1B.
So once you're up by 4 touchdowns, get them in there.
Maybe even less. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you're up 2 scores in the fourth quarter, like you let some of those other guys take a couple carries. But
2 scores is a little tight still. I don't know.
It depends on the game flow. That's what I'll say. Like when Notre Dame went up 21-7 against Boise State, did anybody think that Boise State was coming back? Like I never did. Like that game was done. You can put in some other guys to carry the football.
Yeah.
Not saying the whole second team.
But you're also, as we've seen, one miscue away from.
I get it. So maybe 3 scores. Can we agree on 3 scores?
I think I'd slide my chips to 3 scores.
Okay, that's fair. Like I said, game flow is important to me.
Sure.
In that regard, like Boise was never coming back. Well, with the way the defense was playing, they were never coming back at that point.
True.
So
we'll take a timeout. When we come back, more mailbag questions from listeners, Notre Dame football related. We've got it coming. Vince DeDario, Sean Stires, Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com continues. Got Notre Dame and we've got NC State coming up this Saturday, Notre Dame Stadium, 3:30 kickoff here on Sports Radio WSBT, and that means 11 a.m. game day show live from the linebacker. Game day coverage 11 o'clock Saturday morning. They'll go until 2:30. Tim Grell, Jimmy Rosari, Eric Hansen, Tyler Horka, and they've got great guests as well. Chris Zorich and Ian Book both lined up to join him at the linebacker this Saturday. So that's very exciting as the Irish get set to take on the Wolfpack this Saturday, 3:30 kickoff here on Sports Radio WSBT. And again, game day coverage from 11 until 2:30.
Be there, be square.
That's right. That's right. It is Mailbag Day, and so we're answering a lot of Notre Dame football-related questions from listeners. I hope you put on your real estate.
Oh, man, here we go.
He says, looking to acquire a second property. What are the best areas in and around South Bend within 15 miles to buy a house and affordable as well, under $250K?
Good luck with that.
Well, yeah. I'm just going to be honest with I don't know what size house.
Yeah, that's obviously key.
Yeah. There are some neighborhoods, but you're not going to be in the fancy neighborhoods.
No.
I'm not saying they're bad neighborhoods. You're just not going to be in the fancy neighborhoods, and you're not going to get a very big house for under $250,000. There's a neighborhood I used to live in a little bit east of campus, a couple miles away. That's, kind of a mix, different size houses. I think that you could probably still find something there, but housing, good houses just go so fast in this market. They just get gobbled up. South of town, on the south side of town, is also, kind of some neighborhoods down there where you can find some in that price range. But, I don't know, are you looking for investment property? You're looking to live in, what size you need, all those different things. So,
yeah, I need more information. Yeah. If you're just looking for a 1 or 2 bedroom house, that maybe's been flipped or something like that. Yeah,
you got realtors pulling off the side of the road right now. Call me, give me a.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'll tell you.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck getting anything, much bigger than a 2-bedroom house for under $250. That's actually upgraded and what you want. You could get a fixer upper, that you got to put some money into, but you're still going to put in more than $250 when it's all said and done. So that's tough.
And so he also asked, rather than a Wildcat package, would Notre Dame benefit from using Tyler Buckner in that capacity? He says, I know some will say Minchie, but not sure, he runs that much better than CJ Carr.
That might be the most truthful thing that I've heard in a while, because he doesn't run that much better than CJ Carr. I mean, CJ Carr did get a 28-yard run on Saturday, so Minchie's a better runner, but he's not Riley Leonard, and he's not Ian Book. And so your best running quarterback is Tyler Buckner. I mean, that is a fact. I just don't think I'd be reaching into my bag of tricks like that. I just don't know. I'm not a big fan of those kinds of packages. Just run the offense.
I don't think it's needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just block better, read the block better, hit the hole, but all those
don't have your quarterback being the lead blocker, things like that. Just run your offense.
I'm out on the Wildcat. I said this yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I'm done with the Wildcat. If we don't see it anymore, not the way they're running it right now, it just hasn't been good. It hasn't been effective at all.
Agreed.
Irish for Life 99 says he has a lake house 40 miles north of South Bend. Yeah, and I bet if you listed it right now, it would also be for more than $250,000.
You might be able to get your garage for $250.
That's right.
But that's about it if it's on a lake. Are you kidding me? That doubles the price right there just because it's on water.
Right. And especially if it's Lake Michigan, like a Lake Michigan lake house, because there are a lot of smaller lakes around.
It's still even
the smaller lakes, because the house sits next to water, very small house, and it's going to go for a lot of cash.
Oh yeah. There was a house we looked at actually pretty recently. Now, granted, we're looking for a bigger house. I have a big family, but it was on one of those little man-made lakes, in a neighborhood. And the price was probably $50,000 to $100,000 more than that exact house would be if it wasn't on that
2 blocks away,
dug out, hole in the ground, because it's on water. So yeah.
Yep. Sister Lakes is what Irish for Life is saying.
Okay.
Well, nice.
I'm sure. Believe me,
But you'd still list it for more than 250.
You're getting more than 250. I am very, very, very confident in that.
Jonathan wants to know key matchup in this week's Notre Dame NC State game.
It's Wednesday. I have not looked at any NC State film, so I'm not going to lie to you. But I know overall what this team is. They have an offense that can put some points on the board, and they have a very young defense that isn't great. So honestly, my key matchup is the Notre Dame offense versus the NC State defense. How many points can Notre Dame put up? That's going to be a matchup moving forward. And then also, what is Notre Dame's defense? The matchup is Chris Ash and the Notre Dame defense. That's the matchup. Like, what plays are you calling? How aggressive are you going to be? Is it going to look like Boise State, or is it going to look like the first 2.5, 3.5 games? That's the biggest question for me. That's the only matchup I care about. Chris Ash versus himself.
Can Chris Ash get out of his own way once again and lead the defense to the promised land? Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's Notre Dame. Like every game this season, that's what it's going to come down to, is how well is Notre Dame's defense going to perform. This week, it happens to be C.J. Bailey, and Hollywood Smothers is a pretty good running back as well, who can do some different things. He's got more than 20 receptions already this season, and I think he's got like 6 total touchdowns. He's already got over 100 carries for that matter. So
that's a lot.
Like the guy's a pretty good runner. Notre Dame has been pretty good against the run. Can they continue to do that? The question is still going to be much more about how you contend with C.J. Bailey, and do you allow a bunch of long, explosive pass plays? I don't think they will against NC State's offense, but that's going to be the biggest question, just how Notre Dame's defense performs.
Yep.
We've got a few questions around recruiting, and I guess I always need to put the caveat up. He's asking, this is from James Salumi, each side of the ball, the crown jewel you need to land for the 27 class. Vince and I are not recruiting, guys.
Nope.
And there's a bunch from Jay Belcher, 68, as well. Quarterback recruiting, wide receiver recruiting, tight end recruiting.
I mean, I can give you overall thoughts on like the position group and like the kind of player that they should go after, like that kind of a thing. But as far as specifics, like who player, that's never going to happen for me.
Brian is going to be in on Friday. We'll do a recruiting talk. So I'll
hold on to those questions. Yeah,
I will.
Hold on to those.
And I'll save these questions and I'll ask Brian.
There you go.
Friday. So, all right. Irish 24 asks, do you see the NC State game more like the Arkansas game? Good offense and bad defense, that if Notre Dame offense is on, it could get ugly, especially with last week's defensive performance.
100%. 100%. I absolutely look at it that way. I don't know that America looks at it that way as far as, an SEC team going down there, like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But just from an overall looking at the game and judging the offense and the defense, 100%. That's exactly how I see it. This is a great opportunity for the offense to bounce back, CJ Carr specifically, and continue to play how he's been playing all year.
Yeah, it's just been a very so-so NC State defense. Their offense has been solid, but again, it's been inconsistent as well. Like when you look at what they've done so far this season, like the way they started off, and I realize, like I've been talking about Virginia, NC State has actually given Virginia its only loss this season, but Virginia is on a little bit of a roll right now. So I maybe need to rewind in case I said Virginia had a chance to get into the ACC championship game undefeated. I think I did, but it obviously can't happen. But being they still have a chance to get to the ACC championship game. But like Bailey only has 4 interceptions this season. He threw 3 of them in one game and lost to Duke a couple of weeks ago. And I think Notre Dame's offense, to the point of this question, could make this a very ugly game if they come out firing on the cylinders they were firing on against both Purdue and Arkansas, and I think there's every reason to believe they can. Again, I just think the biggest question is going to be, does Notre Dame's defense come to play? Do they play a complementary type game against the Wolfpack?
Yep. Agreed.
ND Blitz asks, what's the likelihood Christian Gray returns in 2026? A, not a chance. B, it's possible. C, more than likely.
I believe it's possible. I wanted to look to see. He's a junior. Okay. So, I mean, it's possible. And I think that I would say that I would go somewhere in between possible and more than likely. It depends on what kind of draft grade he gets, obviously. Where he's at with his education, I think will be a piece of it. And then, a chance to maybe potentially be the quote unquote the man. I think there's a chance. And then you could have, well, I guess Leonard Moore will be back too. So having Leonard Moore and Christian Gray back again and giving these younger guys who are all freshmen another year to kind of incubate as backups, I think could be huge for this team. I'd be finding some NIL money for Christian Gray to try to convince him to stick around. So
yeah,
coach, I really want him back.
I realize that every mistake Christian Gray makes seems to get magnified like nobody else on the defense. It's like him on the defensive side, Anthony Knapp on the offensive side. Anything that happens with one of those two guys is just going to get blown up. I think I'm with you. I'm between possible and more than likely, and it leans toward more than likely. He's better than the perception that a lot of people have of him. Like the worst thing that's happened this year was the holding call against Texas A&M. If he doesn't do that on third down, that game probably, looks different. The outcome of that game looks different, and maybe how you think of Christian Gray looks different. But he's been much more good than bad this year, especially when you consider he's been asked to play out of position for multiple games because of the fact that Leonard Moore was out. And I think that if Leonard Moore can stay healthy and you've got those two on the field together at the same time, like I think you're going to continue to see Gray trend up. Now, the question is going to be, how does that play in terms of the NFL draft for next year? It still feels like, again, he's better than a lot of people think. He's still really good, but I also think to be a true commodity into, because like that position is so deep with so many guys across the board that I think that, like, to me, I lean more towards more than likely he'll be back because there's still another level for him to go to. And if he came back next year, he'd also be playing alongside Leonard Moore for another year.
Exactly. And it kind of falls into an area where he could really put up some decent numbers. And it's hard to believe that he actually has only been at Notre Dame for 3 years. Like, this is literally his third year in a Notre Dame uniform. Like, I just don't think he's leaving early. You know what I mean? Like, if he was a senior with a fifth year option, like, okay, maybe we lean a little bit more the other direction. But now that I look into it a little bit more, I tend to fall more on the C, more than likely. I think he'll be back. I really do.
Yeah. We'll take our last time out of this hour and then back to wrap up the mailbag in hour number 1. We've still got rapid fire coming up in hour number 2. If you're in YouTube right now watching, submit a question or two and we will get to it when we return. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com continues with Vince DeDario, Sean Stires. We've been answering listener mailbag questions throughout this first hour of the show like we do every Wednesday. Don't forget, if you want to submit questions, you can either go to the Irish Breakdown Champions Lounge or submit them in the live YouTube show on either the Irish Breakdown YouTube channel or the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube channel. I am Tenzin. I am the son of Aang. Once he's got a Russian question for me. How much do I remember? He says I can still do my bio despite not using it in 13 years. I would say Tolka Nimnoga, a little bit. Yesli Yahachu Iti Vrosi Yamok. No. Toka Niploha.
You're going to get picked up as a Russian spy, Stires. You better stop it.
I could, if I was in Russia and I needed to get around, I could strike up a conversation with someone, do like basic, like the really basic stuff I can still get. But like when I listen to like a native speaker of Russian, because they speak that stuff fast, man. Especially women, it seems like, and like they just get zipping it off their tongues. Like trying to keep up with some of that. It's like, hold it, that was what verb? How do I conjugate that again? So I get along conversationally. We went on vacation up to Mackinac Island a few years back, and there was a Russian, like in her early 20s. Apparently they would bring like Russian, like people from different countries to work at places like that. And so we were sitting there in like a wine bar and, like we could communicate basic stuff. She understood what I was saying, like as long as she didn't get too fancy, I could understand her. But it's been 37 years.
That's the thing. Like languages, if you're not immersed in it and you're not practicing it on a regular basis, man, that's tough.
Yeah, exactly.
That's tough. I'm impressed you got what you got.
I had to think a little bit. When I got out of the Army, because of, like the intense Russian stuff, like I would still have like dreams in Russian, which was bizarre.
It's funny. I had a friend growing up and she kind of did the immersion in like Spanish and went to a Spanish speaking country and the whole thing. And she was told, and then she told me, you aren't fully immersed and you aren't fully into it until you dream in that language. And I was like, okay, well, I'm never going to be immersed because I am an English dreamer, baby. Like I have never dreamt in another language before.
That's right.
Oh, man.
Andre has a question specifically for you. How many games did it take to believe in Al Golden's defense? Will it take you just as long for Chris Ash?
No, it will not take just as long for Chris Ash. But I did go back and I had to remind myself of the 22 season. And obviously, they started off that season 0-2, right? They lost to Ohio State, which wasn't a defensive disaster, but there were some issues, right, defensively that we got a lot of talking points out of. And then the next week they went and lost to Marshall, right? So then they gave up 17 to Cal. Then they gave up 32 to North Carolina, 20 to BYU, lost to Stanford, gave up 16 there. So like it was probably mid-season before I really, I'd say mid to late October, maybe. But yeah, it didn't happen overnight. I can tell you that.
Here's where I'll be. Here's where I'll be. I know my name's not Vince, and Andre asked you specifically. If they can keep USC's offense in the 20s, like 21 to 24, maybe even 27, I would give them that because they've got a good offense. But if they keep USC's offense 21 to 24 point range, I'll be impressed and I'll be a believer. And that's obviously assuming that nothing crazy happens this weekend either.
That's fair.
That's kind of where I am on Chris Ash. I would be willing to say that a corner has been turned and they've got some things figured out. That's kind of where
I think I got that one circled on my calendar as well, because that's going to be the most dynamic offense that they face for the rest of the season. And so I'm okay with having that one circled. And we can have that discussion about turning a corner and Shamrock's up and all of these different things. Like we can have all of that discussion post USC.
You wish you could come back on Tuesdays, don't you?
No, seriously. I think that's when we have that talk, Sean. I really do. Because, if they beat NC State, okay, NC State can self-implode too. I mean, they did last week, right? So, that might not do it. But USC is a dynamic offense. So let's see what you can do against USC, against a really, really good offense.
Exactly.
Let's chat.
Exactly. They're going to have some guys out there. They're going to have a quarterback. They're going to have receivers because they always have good wide receivers, and they've got, a pretty long history now of having pretty good quarterbacks as well. And I mean, we saw what they did to Notre Dame last year when Notre Dame was really good without Golden here. So that's my litmus test for where this defense is under Chris Ash is how it performs next week against USC.
And the other piece of it is Chris Ash has better players than Al Golden had when he started. That is part of it.
True too.
You know what I mean? Like I believe like the Arkansas win was more based on personnel, and I think the Boise State game was more based on calls and defensive alignment and those kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we need to see a few more games, right? That's where I'm at.
Yeah, because as we talked about on Monday, as Marcus Freeman talked about, Boise State played more 12 personnel. I don't think USC is going to play a lot of 12 personnel.
Not a chance.
That means there's a lot more space that has to be covered, and
Correct.
that's what he has to answer. Can your guys with the scheme that you've been playing, can they cover that kind of space? That's why that's the game where I think that's going to be answered. So,
agreed.
Irish for Life 99 says, "Gdzie vodka?" Where's the vodka? I like it.
Bet you knew that one.
Even went Cyrillic in there. I actually had a few vodkas last weekend.
Bet you did. Hey, you're already paying for it. You might as well.
That's right, baby. It's on me. I might as well drink it.
It's on the house. Let's go.
I am Tenzin. I have the son of Ang. Who's out most likely 100 receiving? Oh, who is Notre Dame's most likely receiving target? 100-yard receiving target, if I can read this, against NC State. Who do you think it is?
Well, it's one of two guys, right? It's either going to be Faison or it's going to be Fields. It just depends on who they pay attention to a little bit more. They were bracketing Fields an awful lot against Boise, and Faison had an opportunity to make some plays. But then, so did Will Pauling, right? So, but I still think it would be between Fields and Faison. Those would be my two obvious answers to this one.
I'll roll the dice on Fields. He hasn't had like the monster game yet because even against Purdue, the bulk of his, I think he ended up with like 2 catches for 74. And obviously the first one of the game was 66 yards. He hasn't had that monster game yet. So I will say that against a team like NC State, I'll put Malachi Fields in there and say that he'll be the guy who's going to be the closest to 100 this week.
I'll take Faison. We'll just so that we can be different.
Dustin said Tenzin's Russian is good, but his English is horrible. I would agree with that based on that last I had to read there.
Oh, that's great. That's funny.
Werewolf asks, does Kingston Viliamu Asa outsnap Drake Bowen?
No, that's not going to happen for this year. It's not going to happen this year unless there's an injury. They trust Drake Bowen implicitly to be the guy on the field most of the time. If anything, you're going to see those two together, but Bowen will have more snaps.
Andre is trying to needle me here a little bit. We've got like 3 weeks to go until basketball season starts, which seems amazing. And he's asking how good Notre Dame women's basketball can be this year. I would like to reserve a little judgment until we get to see them play together first, because there has been obviously so much addition, but you do still have the player who's going to be the favorite for National Player of the Year this year in Hannah Hidalgo. You've got KK Bransford coming back. I think that's going to be really big. Cass Prosper, I think, is going to be very pivotal for them. I mean, they're going to be an NCAA tournament team. I think the question for them is going to be, because of all the significant losses that they have, are they going to be, or can they be, at least in that top, like if you're a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, you get to host first and second round NCAA tournament games. Are they going to be in that range, or are they going to be maybe in that 4, 5, 6 range in terms of seeds this year? I think that's potentially what they're going to be battling for. So
that's a lot more definitive I was expecting.
And again, that's without having had the chance, to see them yet, to actually see them in a game and what it looks like. We get our first chance October 30th, the exhibition game. So it's
coming up
22 days away.
It's coming up.
Yes. But I think they'll still be a tournament team. The question is, how high is the seed? I think is going to be the biggest thing. Do we have any more? I am Tenzin had another one. Best coaching advice for youth sports. He says he's going through 10U flag football.
You got a bunch of 8 and 9-year-olds. My best coaching advice is keep it fun. Just have fun, man. Like, it is not that big of a deal. I don't remember what my kids' records were when they were 9 years old. You know what I mean? I remember the kids that were on the team and the friends that he made and things like that. That's what matters. Keep it fun. Keep it light.
Yeah.
Keep it fundamental. Keep it fundamental, right? Because you want to teach them the fundamentals. Don't get crazy. Keep it fun.
That's exactly it. Good fundamentals, have fun. That's literally like it wasn't football, but when I was coaching Jesse's little league baseball teams, play hard, have fun. That was our thing. Like that was like we broke every huddle with that. Play hard, have fun.
I love that.
That's what it was. So that's what it came down to. All right, we'll take a break for the top of the hour. Rapid fire coming up in hour number 2. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We are back. We are rolling into hour number 2. It is Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat. And Vince, are you ready for rapid fire?
There's some good ones in here today. I am absolutely ready. Some that were there the other day we didn't quite get to, so I'm excited to get to some of these.
Yeah, you never know. Like, depends on how deep we go into some of these questions.
Yes.
You know, how it determines how far we go
I know.
on the list. So, first question. 5 games into the season, does Notre Dame have a better chance to have a 900-yard receiver or 2 1,000-yard rushers?
So I did a little research, obviously, to kind of see where things were at, and obviously Jeremiah Love is well on pace for 1,000 yards. Like it's not. I don't think it's going to be all that close, right? He'll get it in 12 games, and I think we can all agree there's going to at least be 13. So he's a lock. So now, does Ja'Jarian Price get there in 13 games? On what he's doing right now, if you just multiply that out by 13 games, just the pace that he's on right now, he would be 40 yards short of 1,000 yards. That's not that much over a 13-game span. I'm taking 2,000-yard rushers because right now I think the leading receiver is about 300 something. That's not quite going to get there. So I'm sticking with the runners. I think that Notre Dame is still going to be a run-first offense. As good as CJ Carr is, as good as this receiving core is, I just think the safer bet is the runners.
See, and I had to knock this down because I was originally thinking, okay, 2 1,000 rushers or a 1,000-yard receiver. When you look at Faison's pace right now, like 1,000 is like that's not going to happen. 800 was going to be too low, so I kind of met it in the middle. Like, it's still above his pace right now, like you said, with 327 yards. But like, you know, like all it takes is potentially a couple big games, and that could put him, you know, well on that pace to get there. I still think he's much more likely to end up a little over 800 yards than maybe 900. And because of the fact that both Price and Love started so slow, and when you look at the competition that they're going to be playing the rest of the way, I think that there's, as you said, Love is definitely on pace to get there, and Price is just off the pace right now. So if they do pick up his carries a little bit and they keep eating up rushing yards the way they've been eating them up here lately, I think that they've got a pretty good chance to get there. I think Love is all but a lock. Price is going to be within striking distance. So I'm going to say the 2,000-yard rushers also have the better chance to happen.
And it's interesting because, you know, what are the odds? Like, you know, Faison has a big game, but then now he's going to be double covered and he has not a great game, you know, and maybe not his fault, but if he's double covered all day long, you know, his numbers are going to dip. I think there's more of a possibility of a couple of dips for a wide receiver like Faison or even Fields than there is for the rushing yards to dip, because I still think, you know, maybe they get their 100 yards in 8 carries, maybe they get their 100 yards in 15 carries, but I just still think they're going to pound the rock and those guys are going to end up with their numbers.
Yes, and yes. Andre Tonsel says J Love has 9 total touchdowns. Is the over under 20? Andre is taking the over. I think this is
touchdowns.
It is a lot of touchdowns, but again,
very doable.
We're only 5 games into the season, and so the pace that he's on says he should be over by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, because they're not even halfway through the season yet. If he gets at least one, he'll be halfway at the halfway mark of the regular season, and then there's a 13th game.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the caveat to all of this, Sean, is if Notre Dame does not make the playoff, what are the odds that Price and Love are going to play in a postseason game that's not the playoff? I would say slim. So that knocks a game off of the list. So you wanted those numbers to keep climbing so that they have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're just limiting this to a 12-game schedule, again, the pace is still there for him. So
yes, 100%. Yeah,
I would as we're sitting here right now, and again, because of who they're going to play the rest of the way, and the kind of like he's going to be the best athlete on the field in probably all but one game the rest of the season. So I would definitely go. I would take the over on 20 for Jeremiah Love for sure. Fill in the blank. It's blank that Marcus Freeman told NBC we got to get bloody in his interview before Saturday's Boise State game.
I was listening to that. I heard him say it, and I was paying attention, but not really. And then he said that, and I was like, oh, Marcus, what'd you say, buddy?
What did I just hear?
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's probably, that ain't PC, I like that, he's coming up with some different ways to say, look, we need to be physical, we need to play at our level and those kinds of different things. So I don't have a problem with him saying it to his team. Maybe shouldn't have said that in the interview, but at the end of the day, doesn't hurt my feelings. I like the mentality, so I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like when he was talking about we got to pick, choose violence or whatever that he did last year in another interview. He was talking about violence and it's like somewhat mild-mannered looking Marcus Freeman. But remember, this guy was a linebacker.
Exactly.
He played linebacker at Ohio State, played linebacker in the NFL for a little bit. So that it's a violent position. It's a physical position. And I like the fact that, whether it's violence or bloody or whatever, it's like he's getting his team back in that frame of mind. Like, this still comes down to who's going to be the one that hits the other guy the hardest. Like football, you're going to win more times than not if you're the guy who hits the other guy the hardest and you're playing to the echo of the whistle on every snap, and like it feels like that's the mentality he's trying to get these guys back to. So I agree. It was a little bit jarring to hear Marcus Freeman say that, and I didn't even realize it until the other day because obviously I had to go back and rewatch it on TV, and I rewatched the game first, and then on my remote, if you hit if you're at the in the recording already, and you try to back up, it'll go all the way to the beginning of the recording. So it started playing, and the interview was there, and I was like, "Hold it, this is interesting. I didn't know this happened." So I didn't see a whole lot of talk about this earlier in the week, but no, I like it.
The mentality is amazing. Like, I'm all for the mentality, and I'm sure there's some Karens out there that got their feelings hurt somehow, but I love it. I mean, I'm all for it.
Vince just not caring about anyone's. Vince is not here for anyone's feelings.
Never have been, never will be.
No. So at his press conference this week, Freeman was asked about the idea of his team gaining some momentum the last few weeks and about the concept of gaining momentum as the season goes on. And here's what he had to say about that.
I think as you look back at something, you believe in momentum. You say, man, we gained some momentum. I believe there's a confidence that helps with momentum, that success brings you. But I don't believe you can rely on momentum to achieve an outcome that you want. I believe you achieve the outcome, the desired outcome, by the work you put in every single day. And there's a little bit of fear, if we don't put in the work, we're not going to get the result that we desire. And so we can't rely on momentum, but I think as you look back, momentum is a real thing.
All right. So he says momentum is a real thing. What do you think about the concept of momentum in sports, and obviously specifically in football, Vince?
Oh, momentum is absolutely a thing. And momentum can be a thing inside of a game. It can also be a thing from a game-to-game scenario. I think, to his point, I think it is easier to recognize momentum when you're on the outside looking in, or if you're looking back. I never thought of it that way, but I think he's absolutely right about that. But when you're coaching a team and you're on a winning streak, and you're just everything you're doing is working and things are clicking, that's momentum. And guys get confidence when it comes to momentum. And I've been part of football teams where you hit a buzzsaw and you take some L's in a row, and it's just like, all right, here we go again, So the lack of momentum is absolutely real. And then you get teams where they played some substandard teams to start the season. I'm thinking high school or college, doesn't matter. You play some substandard teams, you start picking up some wins, and you get some good feelings, and you get that momentum going. And then you actually face a tough team and you play well because you're used to winning. That's what we do. We win. Yeah. So that's a real thing. I absolutely think that that's a real thing. Didn't work for Penn State, but it does work for a lot of teams.
It's very true. Like you get those endorphins going
Yeah.
and you're feeling good and all that kind of stuff. You just got the positive vibes, and it's amazing how momentum swings work in the
Oh,
course of
yeah.
the game. Like when you look at a team, it's like they could, like they can't do anything right for a stretch, and then just all of a sudden, like the fourth quarter comes or whatever, and it's like everything they do, like they can't do anything wrong at that point. It's just it's crazy how it works. There's that old baseball adage that says momentum is as good as next day's pitcher. Now I don't know like how that applies now, because like analytics and all that, so, it's like how long are you going to count on a pitcher? All of 2 innings sometimes.
Milwaukee pulled their pitcher in the middle of the first.
There you go. There you go. So, so like for this year's Notre Dame team, it's probably momentum is as good as next week's offense, so that's, it's like the opponent does have something to do with it. I agree with what you're saying. Like you can ride those positive vibes, but there's still, it still comes to a point of, maybe going back to the last one. How bloody are we willing to get? How, how physical are we willing to get? Who are we actually lining up against on the other side of the football? I think all those factors play into that momentum as well. And again, like for this year's Notre Dame team, as of right now, you're only probably as good as the offense that you're going to face on the other side of the football. So I don't know.
Ride the momentum, man.
It's definitely an intangible quality that's hard to quantify.
100%. And look, we saw it with last year's Notre Dame team. Like they clearly found momentum winning all of those games in a row. That was an actual thing. They rode that momentum through the playoff. I mean, there was no team hotter than Notre Dame. I mean, with the way that they were, except for maybe Ohio State, but they lost to Michigan, you know what I mean, at the end of the year. So like Notre Dame was riding a wave of momentum and it helped them into the playoff. And so they're hoping to recreate that again. It's definitely possible, but we're a ways away from that yet.
I think so. They've shown they can do it. Can they find that crest?
Yeah.
Can they keep it going again? So there was some online chatter during Marcus Freeman's press conference earlier this week about whether the media should refer to him as Marcus or Coach Freeman or just Coach in a press conference type setting, in this formal press conference type setting. So where do you stand on this, Vince, on how the media should refer to a coach when addressing them?
I think it's going to be it depends on what you're comfortable with. Like I personally, I look at the term coach as an absolute term of respect. And so if you were ever my coach or you are a coach, I call you coach. And that to me, that is a term of respect. Like I happen to work with my former 7th and 8th grade football coach. Every time I see him, like we are now peers, essentially. Every time I see him, hey coach, how you doing? Like he will always be my coach. It doesn't matter that was like 30 years ago. You know what I mean? So when I see Coach Freeman, I call him coach because that is a term of respect and I respect the job that he does. So for me, I will always say coach. Now, not all coaches look at it that way.
That's right.
There is a former coach of Notre Dame where we're in the grocery store. It wasn't me. In a grocery store, a fan went up, hey coach, how you doing? And this guy lost it on this guy and said, I'm not your coach. Don't call me coach.
This is how I have always looked at it, because I agree with what you're saying. Like your coach from high school, you're still going to call him coach because that's probably what you called him all the time back then. Swan Dong in the YouTube chat says like doctor. And that's the example that I would give, like if you know a dentist, do you call him doctor? If you know a doctor, do you call him doctor? Or is he just Bob, or whatever his name is?
Right.
Because you actually have, you actually know him. It's like you are not being treated by this person as a doctor. He happens to be a doctor. So it is outside of that realm. Like in the military, your rank is essentially part of your name. It is part of your identity.
Yeah, 100%.
Like very similar to coach. You're not known by your first name. You're basically, like Sergeant Smith or Captain Brooks or, whatever it happens to be, so when someone addresses you, it's your rank and your last name. And So it's like what you just said right there. Did you actually play for that coach? That's how I've always looked at it. Like I haven't played for any of these coaches. So yeah, while they are a coach, they also have names. They have first and last names. And so as long as you're not just calling them, Freeman or Mickens, or you know what I mean? Like you're not referring to them on a last name basis, you're still, like I think it's perfectly fine to refer to them by their first names because we didn't play for them, so he was never my coach, as you said, with that coach in the grocery store. So I think it's completely different.
Like I said, it's to each his own as far as I'm concerned. Like I would never call him Marcus because I'm not his friend. Like, I don't know. To me, that's too informal. And I'm not going to call him Mr. Freeman because that's weird. So I would call him.
That's a bit too formal. Yeah,
completely agree. So to me, it's just simple. Coach is what I would call him. Like when I've seen him at Penn games. Hey, coach, how you doing? That kind of a thing. That's just me.
Well, and like these days as well. Like there are plenty of players who don't, now I don't know what it's like on the football team, but like I can speak to like not every member of the Notre Dame women's basketball team refers to Niele Ivey as Coach Ivy.
Yeah,
for example, I hear first name, quite a bit, which like for us, like
that's weird.
Old farts, that's a lot different, but it's like first name basis, and I think that there's a lot of that.
Yeah, today. There's a ton of that. That happens at the high school level. There's the girls soccer coach at Penn goes by his first name. And it's weird to me. Like it's still weird to me that my kids call their friends' parents by their first name. Like that's weird for me. I still call my friends' parents Mr. or Mrs. because that's how I was brought up. You know what I mean? Like I could never call them by their first name. That's way too strange for me. But that's not the world we live in.
Yeah, and it's just it's funny. It's funny how like some of the people saying that just calling him Marcus or whatever coach by their first name is too informal. Like, is coach really that formal?
It's not.
Really,
it's not that formal. I agree with you. It's not that formal. It's a term of respect for me personally.
Yeah,
because I know, and you do too. Like I know what it takes to be a coach, and that's a level of leadership, and it's a level of respect that I will put on somebody that is a coach. That's the way I look at it. But to each his own. And as long as the guy's comfortable with, like, if Coach Freeman had a problem with it, he would probably say something to somebody like, "Hey guys, you can call me Marcus. It's all good." Or you can call, whatever the case may be,
Exactly.
So, and he doesn't seem to have an issue with it.
I found it odd that it became like,
it shouldn't be an issue.
Point why someone would be so offended by it. And why, like, addressing someone by their actual name would be considered that offensive or too informal. When it's literally the name that the man has been, with 39 years of his life now.
Yes, 100%.
So we'll take a timeout. When we come back, more rapid fire in Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We continue Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com and Rapid Fire with Vince DeDario. I'm Sean Stires. Dustin in the YouTube chat says, I called my dad in practice and got chewed out. I'm coach or Mr. ... He said. Now, I never had to do that with Jesse when I coached him. He just always called me coach.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to call me dad around other
Right.
people. So, yeah.
I don't think I ever actually. Well, no, I did coach my kid, like at some rec basketball and like stuff like that. But it was never an issue. It was never an issue. So yeah. But he's right. I would not want him to call me dad. I wouldn't, because that'd be just weird. And then people be like, "Well, you're showing favoritism."
Well, that's you've already got nepotism, favoritism,
exactly.
Stuff that people think. So why feed into it?
Yep.
Joseph in the YouTube chat asks if Leah Macy for Notre Dame women's basketball is cleared to play. Last I heard, she is not. Do expect to have Neil Ivey on before the season starts on this show, so we will definitely talk to her about that. They're beginning to make their media rounds. They did the ACC stuff, and I actually, Vince, just got my preseason ACC women's basketball ballot.
Oh,
today.
those.
Just got the email, so I've got to start thinking about that now. Yes, I know.
We've talked about this before, obviously not on Sportsbeat, but we've talked about this before when Notre Dame was in the ACC that one year during COVID, and they sent that ballot around for all the awards and everything from the ACC tournament. I got locked up. Like I got locked up.
Might as well have been asking Vince to speak Greek, man.
Oh my gosh!
Like, who are these people?
I completely got locked up. I'm like, I don't know. And it's going to look bad if I vote for all the Notre Dame players. So I'm just not going to submit a vote. I couldn't do it and feel good about it. You know what I mean? It's just so much to know. So many players. I mean, it's a little bit easier in basketball, but for football, are you kidding me? Who are the best linemen? I don't know.
That was tough. That was the toughest part of that whole thing. Who are the top offensive linemen?
Yeah.
Fortunately, Notre Dame obviously had some pretty good ones that year.
This is true. This is true.
Them in, but yeah. So now I got to go start looking at stats and all that kind of good stuff. And
good for you.
Putting in the research. I just started the other day making a couple of the opponent sheets that I make for the games. Just getting that process started. So
ready to roll, man.
Oh man, it's coming. It's coming fast.
Yes, it is.
I'm glad we've got a bye week coming up here pretty soon as well.
That's a good point.
So Trevor Lawrence fell to the ground the other night on Monday Night Football when he was trying to pull away from center, but he hops right back up, runs in for the game-winning touchdown against the Kansas City Chiefs. My question for you, Vince, do you think college football should have the same rules? Should they change their rule so that, right now, if you're a ball carrier of any kind and your knee goes down when you've got the ball, that's it. Play over, knee or elbow, whatever it happens to be. Should college football let guys get back up and start running again if they're not touched by a tackler defender when they fall down?
I have rarely thought about this until you brought it up. But, obviously it forces me to think about it. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, they should change the rule. I don't like the rule, especially when you fall down.
Right.
And
when it's just you, when there's no
correct
outside influence on you falling down. Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence fell down twice on that play and still got up and scored a touchdown, which, by the way, is embarrassing for the Chiefs, but whatever. Yes, they
more
should
embarrassing for Chris Jones. Have you seen the replay where Chris Jones is, Chiefs, best defensive player is just standing there, kind of like, do I run? Do I go after him? He stops twice and just lets Trevor Lawrence score.
Just bad look all around. Yeah. If you're the Chiefs, you can't get beat by the Jags. I don't care if they're up and coming or whatever. But anyway, I think they should change it, and I would be on board with them changing it in high school too. The only reservation I would have in high school is that from a safety standpoint, okay, if you want to keep it that way in high school, keep it down in high school. Okay, I could get that from a safety standpoint. Once you get to college, you're looking at a different style of an athlete than you are in high school across the board. And those guys can handle it. So I would absolutely change it for college. And I would have a discussion about it for high school.
I'm with you. I think college is going to have to change it before high school ever changes it. But that always frustrated me playing, in high school. Like because I don't think we were allowed to return fumbles either in high school.
There's
if I
certain
remember
times
right.
where you can't return like a muff punt, like
Yeah.
a muff
We could
catch, and
muff
like
punts for sure, but I don't think we
yeah,
were allowed to return
no
fumbles in
fumbles at
high
all.
school.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
you know, granted, this was back in the 80s still. So
Sure.
it's been a while, and you know, they've obviously changed that at some point. But I think if the defender had no influence on you falling down, like you're literally, you know, like you're running in your moment, you know, like a wide receiver, for example, makes a spectacular catch, but his momentum happens to take him to the ground and he hasn't been touched by a defender. Like, why shouldn't he be able to get back up and just start going again? Or just, you know, like if he falls down at the 1 yard line, why shouldn't he be able to roll into the end zone if he's not touched, or, you know, any of that stuff? Or just, you know, again, like the Trevor Lawrence play, he either tripped over his own feet or he tripped over his own guy's feet.
Yeah, I think he got stepped on by the center, and so he went down.
Yeah.
And he went down again. Like, you should not be down at all. Like, that's the defense didn't do anything.
Right, exactly. So I completely agree with what you're saying. And it's like, for whatever reason, when I saw all those replays, that's the first thing I thought. It's like, man, why doesn't college just let guys get back up and run like that? There's really no reason not to, because I don't think I agree. High school might be a little bit more of a stretch.
Which I get,
you know, because of the safety thing. But I think that in college, guys should be able to get back up and do that.
Yeah, there's a big difference between the athletic ability in college than there is at high school, and it's at all levels. NAIA, Division III, Division II, Division I, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Big difference. I think college guys can control themselves a little bit better, you know, than high school kids. And so from a safety standpoint, like I said, we can have a discussion about it, but I would absolutely change it in college.
Completely agree. Which Notre Dame uniform do you like better? The all green jerseys that they wore, or, you know, all green top and bottom that they wore the other day against Boise State, or green jerseys with the white pants?
Where did this come from, out of curiosity? Because this
honestly, it was me having to watch the game on TV and just like the green on green.
I hate the green on green. I hate it.
You know, the all green on the green field.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like the green on green. I know that might be a controversial take, but whenever they can wear white pants, I am on board with the white pants. I love the green on the white, like they wore, I think it was last year. That's a much better look than the green on green. That was just it's too much. It's too monochromatic for me.
I agree.
I
agree. I think I've never been a monochromatic guy. And I think that, like, those all greens are like, I think they maybe look a little bit better, like when they wore them at night as opposed to a day game. I don't know, but I like the green top white pant look. I like it a lot. I like it better than even the gold pant look. I think that the green top white pant look is probably the best look that they've got, especially with that helmet, you know, shining and that whole thing. So I like it. Do you like the color, this color of green that they wear?
Not especially.
See, I do. Like I've seen a lot of people that want them to go back to that 2005 green, the darker. Is that Kelly? I don't know which one is.
Kelly is the lighter one. Kelly is the one that they're wearing now.
I don't like that darker green. I like the one that they're wearing now, actually. I think it's the best green that they've had.
You and I are not going to agree on that one. I like the darker green and the gold numbers. And I think they could make that look really, really cool with some of the new technology, you know, that they have with the shininess and, you know, all of those kinds of things. So I would love them to go back to the darker green. I think that would be a great look. Now, I also said I don't like monochromatic, but I love the all white. Like I
all white, I think, is a little bit different than like dark colors. Definitely.
Okay.
Because I do like the all white. Like when they go on the road.
Yes.
That's my favorite. I've said before, the only thing that I would do is maybe, you know, some green numbers, work some green numbers.
I'd be okay with that. Yeah. And I like they always have the monogram ND on the pants, you know, make those green, maybe with the numbers green. Like I could get on board with that. I think that would be a good look.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about like these uniform combinations, as you can see by watching the YouTube chat right now, is like, it's probably like if you polled 100 people, you'd probably get 15% of people in different categories. Basically, you're not You're not going to come anywhere close to being unanimous on this. Everyone's got their own personal taste.
And I know the gold pants is a whole other like controversial issue and all that. And I saw somebody, I think it was on the Champions Lounge. Somebody said they want the same material that outlines the numbers, like that shiny gold material that outlines the number. They want those as the pants. That would look awful.
Wow, that's a little bit too much. That's a little too shiny.
That's way too shiny. Like that's like MC Hammer gold pants shiny.
Yes.
And there's nothing good that will come from that. Like, that's awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
I don't think so. John B says they should put a shamrock on the side of the helmet when they wear green. That would be acceptable. I would like that as well.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Because they don't do alternate helmets other than Shamrock Series games. So,
and they haven't done those in a little while. Like, they've had gold helmets for a while, haven't they? Or maybe I'm wrong. Have they done that?
Well, they did the Shamrock Series at Yankee Stadium.
That's true.
Year.
Yeah. The next Shamrock Series is the one that's going to be at Lambeau. So I wonder what they'll do there.
Right. Speaking of uniforms, scale of 1 to 10, rate the Bend uniforms that they unveiled for basketball last week. Haven't had a chance to talk about these.
No, we haven't.
Because I was gone when these were unveiled, and these were somewhat divisive last week as well.
Before I give my opinion,
okay,
what were the divisive statements? Like, what was being said? Because I didn't see. I saw a lot of people that really liked them, but I didn't see a whole lot of negative. So I'm very curious to hear what the divisive statements were.
The black, like some people saying they look too much like Purdue, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Other than that,
okay. I mean, I'm going to be very controversial here, I'm sure, and I don't know why I'm like this. I don't. I can't stand when people say that Notre Dame is in South Bend. That bothers me, and it shouldn't,
because technically it's not. It is its own. It is its own.
They're in Notre Dame, Indiana.
Entity. It's like Villanova is the same thing. It is in Villanova, Pennsylvania. Like it's not in Philadelphia.
Right.
Like,
so I have an issue with them having uniforms that have a city name that they're not even in. Like, that bothers me. I don't like
the other
that.
thing. Now, I don't know if Brendan is making a statement here. The other part of the divisiveness is, does anyone call it the Bend?
Nobody that I've ever heard.
Time. No one I've ever heard. I haven't lived here as long. You've lived here your whole life. I've lived here for almost 25 years. People don't go calling it the Bend. So, like, that was the thing that stood out. Like, in terms of the look of the uniforms themselves, I think they look pretty solid. I'd give them like an 8.5.
Yeah, the
other side of this, again, between the black, that's always going to upset some people, even though we've seen basketball wear black uniforms before. It's not the first time this has ever happened, but again, like the look of the logo, the Bend on the front, it looks good. Yes. It's just that I've never heard anyone actually refer to it as the Bend.
Correct. I lived in the Bend for 1 year, and I never called it the Bend ever. And now, when I'm like traveling and people ask where we live, I usually say we live near Notre Dame, we live near South Bend, and that tells people where you live. Just like people who live in the suburbs of Chicago say they live in Chicago, even though they don't, that kind of a thing. I just don't like Notre Dame claiming South Bend. Like, that bothers me. Like, you don't live in South Bend. Your mail doesn't say South Bend on it. It says Notre Dame, Indiana, So
right.
I get it.
You mail something to like the football office or the basketball office or anywhere on campus, you're going to address it to Notre Dame, Indiana. Is
correct.
Where it is. Michael says he's going to check his trucker atlas to see if South Bend and Notre Dame have 2 different zip codes.
They do. They do. 100% they do. Because I lived in Notre Dame, Indiana, and it's a different zip code. They have their own city. They have their own post office.
Okay, so G. Taylor in the YouTube chat says, yes, a lot of folks call it the Bend, including me. Here's my question to you, G. Taylor. Do you live in this area? And I'm not like being just a straight up question. Do you live in this area? Yes or no? That's what I would like to know. My guess is probably no. Because again, I've never heard anyone who lives here refer to it as the Bend. Could be wrong. Maybe there's circles where it happens. I don't know.
There's a zip code question in there. Notre Dame's zip code is 46556. That's Notre Dame, Indiana. South Bend has like 4 or 5 different zip codes because it's fairly big.
South Bend, Mishawaka,
right?
Yeah, Granger,
all kinds of different. And South Bend is like 46514, 46515. Like there's a bunch of South Bend ones. But there's only one for Notre Dame, by the way. Only one. So
Brandon says the question is, how old are you? I don't know.
Maybe he's asking the person who said that they call it the Bend. Maybe that's a kid's thing that maybe I'm unaware of. But I taught in South Bend for a long time. Never heard anybody call it the Bend.
That's true. You were interacting with the natives quite a bit.
That's a great point. That's great.
All right, we'll take our final timeout. We'll see if we can get to the bottom of any of this Ben stuff. Do you like the uniforms though? Like, do you like the general look of the uniform?
Yes, I don't mind the alternate black and gold. I think that's a good look. I like the script. I just don't like that it says the Bend. You know what I mean? So I'm okay with it. I like it.
Yeah. Final timeout, then we're back. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com and Rapid Fire. Winding down the show, Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. Rapid fire. And Vince, the Bend thing has grown some legs here.
Oh, it's taken a life of its own, man. I love it.
Yes, it has. So a lot of questions arising. G. Taylor in the YouTube chat says, a lot of folks call it the Bend, including me. And I said, are you from South Bend? They said, I'm from South Bend. No, I do not stay there now, but I'm 30. So maybe it is a younger generation thing. But I mainly use that phrase when I'm out of town or someone from out of town asks where I'm from. Okay. So we have at least one vote for the Bend. Someone has called it the Bend. So, okay. All right. Can live with that. But then it became like the Notre Dame, Indiana versus South Bend, Indiana. Notre Dame sits in South Bend, Indiana, but the campus itself, and I think as Vince said, both Holy Cross and St. Mary's fall into this as well.
They do.
They are part of Notre Dame, Indiana. And Michael asked.
He's really pushing back on this one, man.
I know. Really doesn't like the fact that there is a Notre Dame, Indiana, when in fact there is. He says, does Notre Dame sit on the edge of South Bend, or does it sit in the middle of South Bend? If it sat on the edge, it would make sense. But if it's in the middle, that's weird. Well, you're going to think this is weird because it does, maybe not technically middle, but it is surrounded by South Bend, essentially.
I think it is. Yeah, I'm not sure how far
South Bend
north.
and Roseland, actually.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Is on kind of the edge over there.
Roseland is up to the north of Notre Dame, like the northwest of Notre Dame, and that may all go all the way up to the state line into Niles. So I'm not exactly sure because I haven't actually looked at a map.
Yeah, the Roseland thing always confused me once I found that out. It's like, hold it, what? There's Roseland?
Yeah.
Like this one strip of road.
Yes. Roseland is smaller than Notre Dame, Indiana, if you really want to, get serious about it.
And notorious for speed traps, or at least it used to be back in the day.
And here's the deal. Notre Dame, Indiana it's not campus police. Like, they have a legitimate police department. They have a fire department. They have their own electrical. They have their own, they are I don't know exactly what you would call it, but Notre Dame, Indiana is a thing. They have their own zip code. They have their own post office. They have all of that. It's not like the IUSB campus police. Like, it's the Notre Dame, Indiana police, and they have plenty of vehicles. They have a police station where all the vehicles are. Like, just because South Bend police and the St. Joe County police help with traffic on game day, the Notre Dame police are actually on campus patrolling, like, the tailgaters and doing all that kind of stuff. Like, there's plenty of those vehicles around. I've gotten many tickets from the Notre Dame police. They're a police station. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, they are a police station. That's right.
Yeah, they absolutely are.
The parking tickets. That's a thing.
That's a thing. And they're ruthless when it comes to parking.
They're like, Notre Dame has its own post office. It has its own zip code. And this really isn't that confusing. Maybe if you haven't been here and, like I said, if you address something to someone like the Notre Dame football office, the athletics department, the business school, if you address something to any entity, any person, any entity at Notre Dame, you would address it to Notre Dame, Indiana, and whatever that zip code is. It has its own zip code. Notre Dame has its own zip code.
There's a reason that Irish Breakdown, LLC, or Driscoll Publishing, their P.O. box is at the Notre Dame post office because he wanted it to say Notre Dame, Indiana. So that's where our business gets their mail, is in Notre Dame, Indiana.
Really? I never knew that. So he has to go to campus to get his mail?
Correct. The business mail, yeah.
Right. But I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never realized he did that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that's the whole reason why, is because it's in Notre Dame, Indiana.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Couple questions left in the chat. Irish for Life 99 says, we know football is very competitive in NIL. Are we on that level in basketball? I mean, I know that there's good NIL there. I don't know how it stacks up, like, in comparison to Duke or North Carolina or, any of that kind of thing. I know that both basketball teams. There's very good NIL for the basketball players.
Yes.
That's what
and I know there's competition between the men and the women and the NIL and all that kind of stuff. And but yeah, I mean, there's a concerted effort in the NIL landscape at Notre Dame for basketball. I will say that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. Joseph says Hannah Storm recently referenced The Bend while conducting an on-air interview.
She probably was told to. Because of this whole
were they talking about the basketball uniforms? Like,
yeah, right.
That would make sense.
And she's an alum, so she never lived in the Bend unless she lived off campus.
I have a feeling it's more like people outside the area. Yeah, we're going back to the Bend, or
Maybe,
whatever.
Yeah,
that.
I just never heard it called that before. Like I don't know.
I agree. I've literally never heard somebody say, "Yeah, we're going." Nothing like that.
And if I was out of town, like in a different state, and I said, "Oh, I live near the Bend," no one would know what I meant. Nobody.
True.
Sorry, nobody would know what that is.
I'm the Tens and I am the son of Ang wants to know if the Cubs have the chance to pull off the miraculous comeback against the Brewers, or are they just the perfect Cub beaters?
I mean, they're down 2-0 right now. I mean, 2-0. They're winning this game, so they might get another game at Wrigley. Maybe they win that game. The Brewers are just a really good baseball team. They have the best record in all of baseball.
Number one seed.
It's tough, man. You're going up against the best team in baseball. So I don't know that this Cubs team in particular is ready to make that run. But they won the first series. Hopefully they can make this one interesting, but I don't think that they're going to win at all or anything like that.
Are you as down on Craig Counsell as Jesse seems to be? He was texting me about grousing about how Counsell, like the guys that they started in games 1 and games 2, like the pitchers they started had also pitched in relief in the previous series. So they were going on short rest and all this different kind of stuff.
I don't have a problem with it because the Cubs don't have any pitching right now. They're all hurt. Cade Horton was the best pitcher of the second half of the season. He's injured. They obviously lost Justin Steele at the beginning of the season. So, like, all these starters, they don't have any pitching. Like, what do you want?
That's what's crazy to me is, like, we're talking about Major League Baseball.
I know, right?
And just these teams that get to the postseason, and you would think that they were piecing together like a Wednesday midweek college baseball game with some of the pitching,
right?
The way they're scrapping together pitching to throw it out there on the mound. That's what's odd to me.
That's a great point.
I also think that a lot of it is analytically driven as well. It's like, well, if we do this, we can do this for 2 innings, and then we just do this, and we can go with this arm and this guy, like all those.
A lot of quick hooks in the postseason too.
Exactly.
Which is very interesting. Like in the few games that I've watched in the postseason, I think 3 or 4 different times managers have pulled the starter in the first inning. I realize they gave up a couple of runs, but good grief, you're really going to tax your bullpen by doing that. Like that's crazy to me. I've never considered pulling a pitcher in the first inning. I've never considered that as a coach.
I know. Like, unless you're just getting, like, he's given up 7 runs already or whatever it happens to be. So,
but like, man, that's tough. That's tough.
Joe's coming to the Bend tomorrow. Have a great trip to the Bend, Joe.
Come on to the Bend.
That's right.
I will not be going to the Bend tomorrow.
No, we'll be going to Notre Dame is where we'll be going. We'll be going to Notre Dame, Indiana at Notre Dame Stadium.
This is correct. I will drive through the Bend with a destination of Notre Dame.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just outside Notre Dame, Indiana, the Linebacker. You'll find him there this Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, 11 to 2:30, game day show. Tim, Jim, Eric, and Tyler, 11 to 2:30, live from the Linebacker. Chris Zorich and Ian Book among the guests this week. So join them there right here on Sports Radio WSBT. Vince, enjoyed it as always.
Yes, sir.
Great questions in the mailbag as always. We will talk to you tomorrow. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.